So get back to the topic, gentlemen. David, you brought up an amazing point last time. It actually raised my awareness, and I wanna pick up from there. And I got a really good feedback off of JT as well about the topic. And the topic was Halliburton money with the Bush family. If I believe you have more about that to say than both of us. If you wanna let us know a bit more about that, so Halliburton money, Bush family, where did that come from?
Well, I think I don't know how many people are aware of the fact that the Cheneys, who was George Bush Jr.'s vice president, the Cheneys and the Bushes were heavily invested in Halliburton. And if I remember correctly, Dick Cheney himself was actually CEO of Halliburton. When 9/11 happened, Halliburton put in contracts for the bid for basically everything having to do with the supply chain for the U.S. military, and they were awarded those contracts. And of course, since Dick Cheney was CEO at one time, he had huge investment stock in that company. So any contracts that they would get would result in a financial bonus for him as well as the Bushes.
Very lucrative.
Yes, and it wasn't just, everybody thought it was just transportation, but it wasn't. It was transportation. It was computers. It was food service. It was a tremendous amount. It was a majority amount of the services that were provided as we went overseas to start the war on terrorism. And I don't know if you guys were aware or not, but there were actually videos of computers that were shipped there to be used, provided by Halliburton. And because the software was outdated on those computers were actually thrown away in a big landfill type dump, and whole new computers were purchased through those contracts. So there was nothing wrong with the computers whatsoever. They were just discarded, and new computers were bought that actually had new software on them when the software could have just been updated. So,
and who was supporting all this financially? The family?
Well, it's supported through basically they own stock in the company, and then the company made decisions on what was going to be provided.
The board understood, yeah.
Exactly. But they actually benefited indirectly. They didn't make the decisions, but they benefited indirectly as major stockholders in that company. And that's why I brought up Halliburton. So all that money that they put in Halliburton made it available for them to buy up, which me and JT were talking about, was the fresh water. Oh, I just pulled my headphones. The fresh water land sources. So they're not actually buying the water services. They're buying up the land that has the fresh water on it.
In other words, they become landlords that position themselves to be the landlords.
Exactly. So they would actually own that water service. So if there's a shortage of fresh water and you own the water,
you control.
Exactly.
Wow. And the exact TJ, please, I'm so sorry. I keep TJ. I'm so sorry. JT.
No worries. Everyone
does. The reason I'm saying TJ is because for 7 years I've been working with the guy TJ. So every second TJ. I'm used to saying TJ Monday through Friday. I'm sorry.
That's my evil twin.
Oh, gotcha. So on Sundays I switch it to JT. So it's a tongue twister for me, especially it being this my third language. So I apologize. JT, what's your take on this?
Yeah, so that's actually really interesting. I didn't really know whenever we were initially talking about this that was the angle that they were taking, and they were actually buying the land that the fresh water is on. That kind of changes things a little bit in my mind. That's actually a different strategy than I thought was being taken. I don't like that. I mean, I'm sure you guys don't either. That's not good.
Of course.
That's not a good thing that's happening. If that's going to be something that continues to happen, then that's obviously something that I'll try and keep my eye on and keep in mind moving forward when we're talking about, investing in fresh water. Again, the more I feel like we can perfect these kind of water purification and filtration systems to be able to take, water that's not necessarily like pure water, I feel like the better. And if we can utilize a lot of like glacier water and water from those types of sources, I'm not sure if they're trying to buy up the water that's, you know, held and locked into these um, glaciers and ice caps. But that's interesting. I didn't know that, David.
Yeah,
That's
and I think
Is
the
there a
access
documentary
to
that
I'm
talks
sorry.
about that as well? Is there a documentary that talks about that?
There is. There's actually three that I watched as I was trying to trace the money from one point to another. And again, you know, finances aren't my forte. I'm a photographer and videographer at heart, but being on the spectrum, I latch onto things and I want to know everything about them once I find something interesting. So I was really
Right.
tracking the money and where it was going and why. That was my question, was why purchase that land? And then it kind of dawned on me. There was actually and you'll have to forgive me, I can't remember what country it was, where U.S. companies tried to privatize the water in a specific country. There was
Maybe
actually
India. They do a
no,
lot of
it was
shady stuff in Africa or India.
it was actually South America. It was in South
Gotcha.
America, and
Mhm.
the citizens actually rose up and told them, no, we're not going to do this,
I
because
like
what
that.
happened was as soon as they privatized the water system, the cost of the water exponentially rose, and they literally came to the point of revolution to get it under control of their government again, as opposed to having it privatized.
Right, and
Um,
making it for people.
yeah. So I guess my thing was, with the way that I understood it all is I mean, our population is increasing, demand for resources is increasing, it's not decreasing. And as our population increases, of course, the thing that the basic necessities of life, including water, then become very short. And if
Yes.
you start thinking of it that way, if you control one of the major resources, the thing that people need to live, food, water, air,
Monopoly.
then that's profit. And I don't begrudge anybody making a profit.
Yeah.
They're
That's
just
actually illegal. They made that illegal in America because that becomes a monopoly, and monopoly is illegal. You cannot have a monopoly on an industry or so to speak. Luckily, but that's what they say on the surface. But internally, there's still a monopoly, like the tobacco industry. I'm intimately familiar with the tobacco
Yeah, or
industry.
telecom.
Or telecom, I'm not
telecom.
familiar much. See, so there's a big monopolies going on that. And Uber was the one. Uber actually, to yellow cab was another monopoly. Uber was able to disrupt the industry, but definitely they're starting to make those illegal. And to your point, David, I'm noticing a lot of similarities to the moves Bill Gates is making with buying all those lands.
I was just looking into that. I don't know how familiar JT is with this.